If you have children and want a family-friendly store, look no further than Aw Yeah Comics. Visit one of their 3 locations, Harrison, New York, Muncie, Indiana, or Skokie, Illinois, and check out awyeahcomics.com for more. Their name says exactly how they feel about it. Aw yeah. My love of the TV series Smallville is well documented, and there's one rewatch podcast that's always at the top of my queue, Zach Moore's Always Hold On to Smallville, which continues with more great Smallville and Superman talk now that their series rewatch has concluded. Listen wherever you get podcasts. In the 1950s, George Reeves embodied the Man of Steel in Superman's first television adaptation, from its gritty black and white beginnings to the kid-friendly color years. To this day, an entire generation reveres George as their Superman, while for others, the show remains an overlooked, underrated chapter in the character's history. On this podcast, we bring everyone together as we break down each episode of Adventures of Superman, examining it within the context of the series itself, as well as the larger Superman mythology. Welcome to another exciting episode in the Adventures of Superman. I'm your host, Anthony Desiato. Joining me to discuss Season 3, Episode 11, Flight to the North, is one of the hosts of the All-Star Superfan podcast, returning guest Rob O'Connor, who is neither a mule stealer nor a pie thief. Welcome.
Okay, it's a deal. Thursday at 6 p.m. sharp. But if you don't bring a pie, you lose automatic.
I'll get the pie. Don't worry. Welcome. Thank you for joining me. We're here in the color era. And this specifically is an episode that you asked me to do, I think the first time we ever recorded about Adventures of Superman. So let me toss it to you. We'll get into the episode specifically, but what is it about this one that really stood out to you?
I mean,
what doesn't, I guess?
What doesn't? It's an absolutely insane episode. I would love to know how they came up with it. Did they make it as a prank? It's just so bizarre. And, you know, it's whenever I have a hankering for the color episodes, I always come immediately to this episode. It's definitely the one I've seen the most from this era. And it's just crazy. It's like if Wes Anderson made a Superman movie, it would be Flight to the North. You know, it's completely off the wall, and it is genuinely funny, I think, and genuinely charming. And it's a total step away from the usual tropes of this show. I think it's just crazy in the best possible way.
I know. As I was preparing for this recording, I said to myself, because we're close to the end of season 3 here, I'm like, is this the best color episode so far? I mean, yes and no. I think when I look at season 3 as a whole, Clark Kent Outlaw still stands above the rest. That one I found particularly strong. Superman Week I thought was another highlight. So definitely good episodes along the way. But I guess going back to where we started this season, I'm kind of looking at a lot of these color episodes as falling into a few different categories. And I feel like an episode like Clark Kent Outlaw, had that been a season 1 or 2 black and white episode, I feel like it would hold up. Like, I thought that was a really strong outing. Then there are other episodes that are like kind of middle of the road, for lack of a better term. There's some strong moments along the way, but by and large, I've not found these color episodes as engrossing, as gripping as what came before. But then there's this other category. And I would say Bully of Dry Gulch fell into this as well, and certainly Flight to the North. Episodes that can really only be in the color era. And they're so out there and silly, but charming and genuinely funny, to your point. Like, I didn't laugh quite as hard upon rewatch, but going back to my memory of watching this one for the first time, like, genuinely funny. And it's so out there. So this one I really found to be a highlight. And I think it's the best of what this kind of color episode can do, I feel.
Yeah. No, I agree. And George Reeves is a great straight man, but some of the characters that pop up in it are fantastic. And even some of the minor characters, like, they have some of the biggest laughs of the episode for me. And yeah, it's just wall to wall madness, in the best possible way, in a way that you wouldn't expect from Superman or any superhero show, or even an action adventure show in general. It's just so bonkers. It's the only way to put it.
Yeah. And for people who have been following along, maybe they're surprised to hear me love Flight to the North as much as I did. But I think where I've been the most frustrated in the color era, it's with episodes that are almost there. They're almost what I want them to be, but they don't quite rise to the level of what I think the show can do. But with something like this, where they're really in a very different lane, it's great. So this is one that I am a fan of. And just to set this up, a kind-hearted visitor from Skunk Hollow named Sylvester J. Superman visits the big city with his pet mule Lilibel and is mistaken for the real deal. This aired on October 1st, 1955, written by David Chandler, directed by George Blair. And among our guest cast, Chuck Connors as Sylvester J. Superman. Are you familiar with him generally?
I am not, I have to say.
That's quite all right. One of our regular guests here, my good friend Rich Roney, when we were talking about these episodes, generally it's like, oh, Flight to the North, Chuck Connors. Like, he was a big deal. I looked him up, and he played, I think he's one of only, 13 athletes to ever do this. He played for both the MLB and the NBA. So he was both a baseball and a basketball player. And then had this lengthy acting career, including a long, well-known stint on The Rifleman. So,
okay.
So he's definitely
one. He looks like that kind of guy, all right.
Yeah. So definitely, I think, a standout among our guest cast here. So Chuck Connors as Sylvester J. Superman, Ben Weldon as leftover Louis Lyman, Ralph Sanford as Buckets, Marjorie Owens as Margie Holloway, George Chandler as the innkeeper, and Richard Garland as Steve. I guess we've already done our overall impressions, but anything else you want to say big picture before we segue more specifically into our breakdown here?
I'm assuming Richard Garland as Steve, he's the hotel bellhop, is he?
He's the boyfriend or fiance in Alaska.
Oh,
George Chandler is the innkeeper.
George Chandler was the MVP for me in this episode. Like, he just had, for such a minor character in one of the earlier seasons, they probably wouldn't have made him be the source of such kind of levity throughout the episode, but I really thought he was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was a lot of fun. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I think this was it was a blast of an episode. This case of mistaken identity, they got a lot out of it. And I think, on a sincere note, I think what comedy aside, I think what really stands out about this episode, and it gives it a little something special, is the kind-heartedness and neighborly spirit of Sylvester J. Superman. The lengths, literally and figuratively, that he will go to help this woman that he's never met.
Absolutely. It almost feels he's so virtuous and he's so likable and he's so charming. It almost feels like it could be a backdoor pilot for this character, and you'd follow his adventures, with Lilibel and that kind of stuff. Is the idea that his name is actually Superman, Sylvester J, that is his actual surname?
Yeah.
Okay, because the first time I watched the episode, I was like, what's going on here exactly? And why does he have super strength? Is he just a local strongman? Is that the idea?
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I mean, we'll see him, and we'll mention them when we get there, but we'll see him perform a couple of these feats of quote unquote super strength. But I guess it's the sort of thing, and he's, the towering man. He's got a lot of size and physicality, so it's not beyond the realm of possibility. But yeah, it's like he has the strength of multiple men, not quite the strength of Superman, but it's enough that in these instances he's able to pass off as, not that he's even purposely trying to be. He's just mistaken for Superman and clearly doesn't know who the real Superman is. So we just kind of go from there. And it's funny now, I'm forgetting offhand. Does he ever actually say his own last name? Because I wonder if he would say it Superman or whatnot, or if he would say Superman. I don't know.
See, I don't think he does, because when you described him as Sylvester J. Superman, I was like, oh, is that why he refers to himself as Superman? I wasn't sure. Was it just a nickname that people in Skunk Hollow called him or whatever, I'm
almost positive that's what he signs in the registry. And that's what the innkeeper first, that's what the innkeeper first clocks. Yeah.
Gotcha.
But yeah, just I think a nice message about what it means to be a neighbor. And that was nice to see. And I agree with you, whether a spinoff or the thing that we come back to in so many episodes, it's just, it would have been great if this guy ever came back.
If he ever came back. I was actually wondering, I was watching it last night going, I don't remember the color episodes that well. And Sterling Holloway comes back a bunch of times as Uncle Oscar and whatever. I'm like, maybe Sylvester is in another episode, but it sounds like he's not.
No, and I feel like that's a missed opportunity. Like, it would have been great to bring this guy back and for one other episode. So, but That's not what the show was really focused on. I have to let that go, but it'll keep coming
If there
up.
is a George Reeves Justice League, I think Sylvester J. Superman is he fills the Green Lantern role.
Yeah. Oh man, you think about what an episode could be. You bring back Boulder from The Face and the Voice. You bring back Sylvester J. Superman. You get a whole thing going. All right. So we'll segue into our breakdown here. I'll read my synopsis. We'll pause. We'll share our thoughts, all that. A towering man in overalls leads a mule into a hotel and wakes the innkeeper, asking for a room during his first trip to the big city. As he signs the registry, the innkeeper sees the name Sylvester J. Superman and mistakes him for the real Man of Steel, seemingly confirmed when the innkeeper has Sylvester bend a crowbar into a horseshoe, which he does with ease. So you like this guy at the jump, yeah?
Oh yeah, I just thought he was great, and he instantly believed, and he says something like, "I don't know why you're wearing this disguise, Superman." It's like, what disguise exactly? I mean, is he wearing a mask like Mission Impossible, or is it just the clothes he's wearing? Is that the disguise?
That's a good question. It's funny. My gut reading of it was that it had more to do with the attire, because I feel like,
yeah,
even though Superman has appeared on television and presumably he's had his picture in the newspaper many times, still totally different era. It's not like us now. You talk about anytime there's a trailer for anything, we're freeze framing, studying everything, whatever it might be. I feel like for the average citizen, they probably have only had so many instances where they've really studied the man's face. So they might mistake him, physically. But yeah, I think the attire is probably what would have thrown him even more. Plus the mule. And just the fact that he's here looking for a hotel room. But it's funny, and it's not the only time. When we get to Margie later in her apartment, it's the same sort of thing of like, I don't know why you're acting like this, Superman, or why you appear like this, but sure, I'll go along with it. There's so much goodwill for Superman that people overlook a lot.
Thank goodness the Crumbly Hotel is pet friendly as well.
Yeah.
Let bring his mule.
I know. Well, that's the thing. You see how quickly the innkeeper goes from, I'm telling him you can't have this mule here, to being so deferential once he thinks it's actually Superman. So yeah, that's our opening here. Then in Clark's empty office, the recently paroled leftover Louis Lyman is rehearsing what he plans to say to Clark. When the real reporter enters, Louis gets in Clark's face about his articles sending Louis away to prison. Clark pushes back that he writes it as he sees it and that Louis deserved what he got. Shades of season 1 Clark here. I like this.
Yeah. Yeah, big time. And I especially like when Louis is like, "Oh, don't you remember me, Mr. Kent? Or don't you recognize me, Mr. Kent?" And he's like, "I can't say I do." And us, the viewer, are like, "Well, we definitely do, because you've been in a bunch of episodes as other characters."
Yep. Yet another instance. Bring him back as one of his characters from a prior episode. That got sent away, but obviously they don't do that. But I love Clark getting tough in that moment. And just the fact that Clark's put away so many, as both Clark and Superman, he's put away so many of these people. He doesn't even remember them at first. And I like the little bit about Louis rehearsing. It's such a little thing, but
before Clark comes into the office and he's just like workshopping what he's going to say, this kind of thing.
Yeah, I guess it's revealing of his character, and I guess it's just an interesting choice to me, because it would have been perfectly normal, natural. Wouldn't have thought twice if it opened on Clark in his office and then this guy walks in. Yeah. But it's like, no, that guy's there first practicing. It's just a very interesting choice.
Yeah, it's a nice bit of acting as well.
Yeah. Louis returns to his hotel, the same one that Sylvester is staying at, and finds his pal Buckets in his room. Buckets asks Louis what he missed most while he was in prison. His girl? Nah, Louis says. Rather, it was Margie Holloway's lemon meringue pie.
Oh my goodness. They talk about this lemon meringue pie like it's like crystal meth or something. It's just the look of kind of devious delight on Louis' face. Like he's describing like, "Oh, the lemon meringue pie on those hot summer days." And Margie would come up with one of those little pink plates. Oh, and he's just going to another place altogether. Again, great acting from this actor. Like just like you can really picture the sun beating down as he's. Did he mow the lawn for them?
Yeah, he mowed the lawn. Yeah, he would mow the lawn, and then Margie would bring him out a slice of this pie on a pink plate. And it was the best pie
Incredible.
he ever had. And he hasn't seen her in over 10 years. But this really, it made such an impression on him. And they get into an argument about who makes the better pie, Margie or Bucket's aunt. And each bets their share of a $50,000 stash in a taste test. Because there's that bit of business where Louis frustrated about being holed up in that hotel. And Buckets is like, no, you got the $50,000, but you can't spend it. You got to lie low. And then they get into all of this about the pie. And not to make this dirty, but I'm saying there's so much pie talk. I'm like, was this a euphemism? What are we talking about? I mean, literally it is a pie, but there's just so much talk about Margie's pie and this and that. Got to keep it clean for the kids.
We could tell you, Mother, we just ate the pie. Sorry.
Yeah, but clearly that made a lasting memory for Louis there. So they make this bet. And then meanwhile, over in Sylvester's room, he reads, as best as he can, an ad placed by none other than Marge Holloway asking Superman for help. I mean, what a coincidence.
Yeah.
At the Daily Planet, Lois shows Clark the same ad, and he decides to investigate. And this will lead to all of them converging here.
I must say, I'm that little bit young that I just don't remember the idea of newspaper classifieds. So is that a thing that people would like? I guess, do they telephone the newspaper and say, I need you to put this urgent message in the evening edition?
Yeah. Now you're making me feel
Does
old,
it still happen? Maybe it does.
It might. Yeah, I'm sure. Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know. When was the last time I looked at an actual newspaper? I don't know, but yeah, I mean, definitely used to be a thing. Yeah, I don't know in terms of what the turnaround time would be or anything like that, but yeah. I know.
It feels like it wouldn't be the most the most efficient way of getting a message out as quickly as possible. But then, we're coming to this from the world of mass media, Well, it just stood out to me. It was like, what a novel idea, like writing to the Daily Planet and putting this in the hopes that Superman would just peruse through the classifieds and see it,
I know it's interesting. In a way, it's almost like a version of what we would see in the comics during the Triangle era with the Metropolis mailbag, where the Planet gets all these letters. Obviously, this is different. She's actually taking out an ad, but similar sort of idea. I mean, not to beat on this too much, but it's just, she's already made the pie when this ad is placed, and she hasn't gotten a response yet. So maybe you want to wait until you get an answer before you start baking.
I hadn't even thought of that. That's a great point.
It's all right.
The pie going stale is a thing that comes up. So
yeah, I know it is an actual plot point. So yeah, maybe she jumped the gun a little bit with that baking. All right. At Margie's apartment, Louis arrives and begs for the pie sitting on the counter. But Margie says it's for her boyfriend, who's in the Air Force and stationed in Alaska, and she refuses to bake another. What did you make of their exchange? One of the things that struck me was going back, I suppose, to this idea of the kindness of being a neighbor and whatnot. Margie, it takes her a minute to even recognize Louis because it's been so long. Yeah. She remembers, I think I remember reading about you being away, right? So she has that, but she offers him money. She's like, "Are you here? Do you need money?" Right? Obviously, that's not what he's there for. He has plenty of money, but I just thought that was kind of interesting. But yeah, he's rather persistent with this, getting the pie. And
to go back to your point about euphemisms and things, like the fact that she won't bake another pie, she won't bake a pie for another man, and she's so kind of insistent on that. Like you absolutely could read into that a bit, I think.
Yeah.
Their relationship was weird. The thing that stood out to me was like there's clearly 20 years in the difference between these actors. Like Louis is quite a bit older than her, but I think they're playing it like they're around the same age, I guess, because he would have had to have been young enough that he'd be mowing their lawn, and yeah, it like you get the impression that they grew up together. Did you get that?
Yeah, and I think even when he's talking to Buckets earlier, I think he says that he grew up with Margie. Yeah, the ages here in terms of the difference between them, but also just how old. Like I feel like they needed someone a little bit younger for Louis to really sell this idea that it wasn't that long ago that he was mowing lawns and eating this pie and whatnot. It just, as much as he says I haven't seen her in 10 years, it's like 10 or 30. I mean, come on. Single Bound is a new podcast series hosted by married couple Amy and Logan as they review single issues of comics. And if the title makes you think of Superman, you're not alone, as the Man of Steel is a regular topic of discussion. Listen and subscribe on Spotify and YouTube, and follow the show on Instagram at Single Bound Podcast. Fat Moose Comics, established in 1982, is New Jersey's best and oldest comic book store. Moose has that rare, old-school comic shop feel and camaraderie, yet also remains a welcoming space for new fans. Visit them in person in Whippany, New Jersey, or reach out via the Fat Moose Comics Facebook page. Whether you're an independent filmmaker or you just love movies, don't miss these New Jersey film festivals: Brightside Tavern in Jersey City, Hang On to Your Shorts in Asbury Park, and Round Reel in Bloomfield. Submission information for filmmakers can be found at filmfreeway.com. This podcast is an affiliate of BCW Supplies. The next time you need to restock on comic book bags, boards, boxes, and more, be sure to use promo code FSP to save 10% on your order. That's FSP for Flat Squirrel Productions. It helps support the show too. Thank you. But yeah, you do all the business about, she refuses to bake, a pie for anyone else.
For another man.
Yeah, for another, yeah. I know. Well, I guess this was their stand-in for, a far darker version of the story.
Yeah.
Louis persists, but the arrival of Sylvester at the door gets him to leave. Marge is surprised at Superman's appearance and asks him to move a piano, which he does with ease, much to her surprise, as it had taken 4 men to bring the piano in the first place. Then Clark arrives on behalf of the paper, and Margie reveals her request for Superman to bring the pie to her beau in Alaska. When Sylvester remarks that Alaska is mighty fur, Margie suggests that he simply fly. Clark offers to step in, but Sylvester says he made the lady a promise.
Man, what a guy, and you can see in his face, he's like, what, you expect me to go there? he just,
I know.
You really feel sorry for him in a way, it's like he's being taken advantage of.
I know, when she's like, well, you just fly. And he's like, all right. And that's what he ends up doing. Chartering a plane or buying a ticket or whatever hoops he has to jump through. He does it.
Again, a pet-friendly flight.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing. And so I guess, right, for this episode to work, not only do people have to mistake him for Superman, but he has to not know who the real Superman is. Right. And they're all just calling him Superman. And he's like, yeah, that's my name. And do you want me to bring this pie to Alaska? Like, I'd have to fly. All right, I'll fly, I guess. But even when that's the thing about Sylvester and the goodness of this man's heart. Clark offers to relieve him of this burden, but he won't. And then they go out into the hallway and Louie's waiting for them. And he offers Sylvester money for the pie. And Sylvester still refuses. So I really do admire this guy.
He's got a fistful of. It looks like she handed him like $500, by the way, for a charity of his choice or whatever it is. So he doesn't, like, $50 is going to be nothing compared to the
True,
the sack full of change he's carrying around.
Yeah, but still, I mean, again, like the notion that this money was for charity, and I don't doubt at all that he would donate it to a charity. I don't think he would pocket it. But yeah, that was quite a hefty amount, especially putting it in mid-50s dollars. Like, that's probably a lot.
And this is the thing, like, when I was watching this as a kid, my assumption was, so does he have to fly on his own dime now? Like, is he paying for the flights? And then watching it this time, I was like, oh, he must use some of that money to pay for the flight. But now, talking about it here, I don't think he does. I don't think he does go on his own dime.
I think that's my read on this guy. I don't think he would have touched a dime of that charity money. I think he would have paid out of pocket for this.
Crazy.
Yeah. And then
don't call a hospitality.
Yeah. Well, what does he say? Going back to the scene where he was struggling to read the ad and he's talking to Lilybell. And he had a line that I really liked where he's like, only 2 ways to treat a neighbor: either help them or shoot them. So,
I remember that.
Yeah. So I guess once he's decided that Margie is a neighbor he's going to help, he'll literally go to the ends of the earth to do it.
Love it.
Yeah. And then another great moment in the hallway.
Anthony, if you ever want a slice of my famous apple crumble, I'll be happy to just fly out to you. And
are we actually talking about pie here, or what are we doing? I appreciate it. And then there's another great moment in the hallway there with Clark and Louie, where Clark tells Louie, he's like, that guy could break you in two, like basically relax. And then when I love this little bit too, where he's like, I'll take you back. Where are you staying? And Louie's like, the Crumbly Hotel. And Clark's like, that figures.
Yeah.
I love that.
Actually, sorry, just going back to Clark and his interaction with Sylvester in Margie's apartment. He has this line where he says, don't you think I should handle this, Superman? And, obviously, him being Superman, he would fly the pie out to Alaska. But in the reality of Clark Kent just being a man, what exactly do you think he was suggesting there? Was it like, I'll take the pie and contact the real Superman, or I'll take the pie to Alaska? Or like, how did he think people would read into that exchange? That kind of way?
Yeah, that is a good question, especially because, I don't know, because it's like, what does Clark think Sylvester would think? Because Sylvester doesn't even know who Superman is. So as far as Sylvester's concerned, he probably thinks Clark meant he would fly it there himself on a plane. As far as what Clark thought Margie would think, I don't know, because she seems pretty sold on the fact that this is the real Superman. So I really don't know. I don't know. Clark, I keep coming back to this word bemused in a lot of these season 3 and beyond discussions. He's just very bemused. It's not the earlier series Clark who was frustrated and impatient a lot. A lot of this stuff, it just kind of rolls off his back, and he finds the humor in it. And I guess in his defense, I suppose, it's like he sees Sylvester and he sees that his intentions are good. Right. So this isn't a case of Sylvester trying to pass himself off as Superman or taking advantage of a situation to do so. So that probably helps. Did it come across as condescending at all when he's talking to Sylvester and offering to step in, or it just seemed like a kind offer?
Maybe a touch condescending, but I also think he was trying to read what was actually happening. He probably was a little bit suspicious that this was a con man at first. And then as it went on, it became clear to him that, this is just a nice guy who's a bit confused.
Agreed. All right. In a remote Alaskan station, Steve talks to himself in the mirror, then receives a knock at the door from Sylvester and Lilibel, clad only in a hat for warmth in the -20-degree weather. Steve can't believe his eyes and sticks his finger right in the lemon meringue pie to taste it. Steve fixes Sylvester a snack, aka 2 weeks' rations. Louie arrives and takes the pie at gunpoint, but Superman follows close behind. Louie radios for help as his plane couldn't fly in the weather after all, and he had to take refuge in an ice cave. After Sylvester agrees to take Louie back to civilization, Superman sticks around for some of that pie. And finally, back in Metropolis, Clark and Sylvester check on Louie, who is still thawing out, but promises he has seen the error of his ways. So what do you make of this whole final sequence here once we make our way to Alaska?
So much to unpack there. First of all, Steve talking to himself in the mirror. It's like, I remember watching this as a kid, just thinking, every single facet of this episode is going to be crazy and bonkers and absurd. It's not like the lemon meringue pie thing on its own could carry the episode, but it's like, no, the bellhop at the hotel has to be really bad at spelling the word skis, and he has to be completely off the wall. The guy, stuck in the Radio Shack in Alaska has to be this kind of crazy Lynchian character talking to himself in the mirror. That's unlike anything we've ever seen on this show. It's bonkers. I want to watch an episode that details why Steve is trapped up there. And I was thinking about this because, the new Mission Impossible came out recently. And part of that film centers around a character that gets sent off to a Radio Shack in the middle of nowhere. And it got me thinking, what could Steve have done to have gotten such a crappy post like this, that actor is great. I love earlier in the episode when we see his photo and it's clearly a headshot of the actor.
Yeah.
And it's like a really romantic looking headshot, but love Steve. I mentioned the bellhop again, that skis, SKEES, skis. And Clark responds, Alaska, lemon meringue pie. Thank you very much. And then runs off. And it's just perfectly out of context, just craziness. And then finally, Superman. Okay. He's supposed to be a paragon of virtue. He lets Sylvester, as you just said, he lets him walk in the -20-degree frigid temperatures. It walks all the way up to Steve's Radio Shack to deliver the pie. He just lets them do that. And then finally, when he arrives, he says, "Oh, you give Louis a ride back, and I'm going to stay here, and I'm going to have some of this pie that wasn't even made for me." Superman, what the heck is going on?
I agree, but that was also definitely in my top 3 moments of the episode is when he closes the door after Sylvester and Louis leave, and he just smacks his hands together, and he's like, "All right, some of that pie." It's like, okay,
How
whatever
about a
you
slice
say,
of that pie?
whatever you say, Superman. Yeah, I like that little bit because it was a surprise, right? That he would, I don't know, that he would even be interested in the pie, that he would stick around.
That he wouldn't fly Sylvester and Lilybell back himself and then pick up Louis or whatever. Like, just letting them do the work again. It's just.
I guess he figured. I guess Sylvester had proven himself to be pretty self-sufficient and capable, and he's like, "All right, this guy's got it." I don't know, but yeah, it was genuinely funny, and yeah, I agree. I mean, you're right. That's a great observation. Like at every turn in this episode, the innkeeper with his poor spelling, like we talked about before, Louis rehearsing what he's going to say in the office.
Yeah.
Then you get to Steve, who's like losing it out there in this remote station. At every step along the way, there's that little offbeat quirkiness. It really adds a lot it gives a lot of flavor to like a lemon meringue pie to the episode, right? Like it really comes together nicely.
Absolutely. And like there are other episodes that are forgettable because they just have one kind of central hook to them and then that's it. Whereas this has so much going on in it. Like every scene of this is interesting to me, you know?
Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. I don't know. Is there anything else we haven't said about this one that we should?
What's the best lemon meringue pie you've ever tasted?
I'm not a big lemon meringue guy. I'll be honest.
Yeah,
so I can't really say I have an answer. Do you?
It's not that my mother is very good at making pavlovas and things, but I don't think she's ever made lemon meringue pie. But every time I watch this, I'm like, man, I could go for some of Margie's lemon meringue pie right about now. You know?
Yeah.
No, this one's a lot of fun. It's one that if it's 10 o'clock at night and we've had a couple of beers and we want to watch something funny before bed where you can just turn your brain off, Flight to the North is one I go back to a lot. You know, I think it's great, and very few people have heard of it. I remember saying it to you. Were you familiar with it when I pointed it out to you that time?
No, I can't say that I was.
Yeah, I'd recommend it to any Superman fan. It's just bonkers. And it's so much fun and it's so memorable. And I'd love to know there must be a story for why they came up with this, because it's too crazy for it to just be an episode that they said, okay, well, what are we doing here this week? It's so off the wall. I feel like somebody lost a bet or something, or like someone just had a mad idea while they were drunk and thought, oh, what would be great? An episode about a lemon meringue pie, and everybody's crazy in it.
Maybe.
I love it.
My only complaint is that I just wish more of the color episodes were like this, because it was so fun, and like we said, genuinely funny. And if I had to single out to me, I think the funniest single moment, I think it was the bit about, well, just fly it there in Margie's apartment. Yeah. I think that's the bit, because just taking into account his perspective, like fly it there. I think that's what made me laugh the most. And then Superman sticking around for the pie. I think those were the two things above the rest that really made me laugh.
Superman sticking around for the pie and the bit with skis, SKEES, and then his just completely insane response, Alaska, lemon meringue pie. Thank you very much. Imagine tuning in at that exact moment. Like, what is going on?
I guess you also have to admire Superman's dedication as well, following up on Louis, going all about a pie. But yeah, all right. So that was our episode here. So now in the color era, we've shifted to our Great Caesar's Ghost rating system. So we've retired the fedoras. On a scale of 1 to 5, Great Caesar's Ghost, how many would you give Flight to the North?
So bearing in mind that it's not even nostalgia. Like I didn't watch this episode until I was like 17 or 18. But it is an absolute favorite of mine. It is by far my favorite of the color series, the color episodes. So it's a perfect score for me. 5 Great Caesar's Ghost.
I Part of me wants to just join you in the sun with the 5, but I'm gonna go 4. I'm gonna temper it a little bit with a
Fair.
4, but that's a solid 4. I really had a lot of fun with this episode. It was a blast. I thank you for joining me for this. What do you want to share with folks about All Star Superfan?
Our Patreon has recently launched at time of recording, and on there you can find we did an epic Batman Forever 30-year roundtable. That's a lot of fun, and each month we are going to be featuring the Superboy, a podcast for the 90s rewatch podcast on there. So we're rewatching the entire series of Superboy, and we welcome people to join us there. It's a lot of fun.
That's awesome. I encourage everyone to check that out. And I mean, now with your Superboy rewatch podcast, I don't think there's a single Superman show out there, or even Superman related show, that doesn't have a dedicated rewatch podcast to it.
Possibly not. I mean, did anybody do Krypton yet?
I think at the time, if I'm not mistaken, I'd have to double check, but I think at the time there was, because it wasn't that long ago. So yeah, I mean, I think that's the shows are covered. But welcome to the rewatch. Welcome to the rewatch club, my friend.
Thank you very much. I actually cited you in our first episode, and obviously Zach Moore's Always Hold On to Smallville and Matt Truex's Lois and Clark. These rewatch podcasts are so great, and they really shine a light on these shows. And for years I've always thought, geez, someone needs to do a Superboy one, because there are so many crazy amazing there's plenty of really, really bad episodes of Superboy, but as we've talked about in the past, there's also some gems in there as well, and it's a fascinating show to talk about, even just from a production standpoint and things like that. So I'm really excited to kind of dig into the series.
Yeah, and I love the way you're approaching it, of each episode tackling an episode from the first half of the series and an episode from the second half, because the show changed so much. And when you share that with me, I was like, damn, that's a good idea. And I'm saying that would have been an interesting approach with this podcast, because the same thing.
Superboy's unique in that, like most of the other Superman shows, they start strong and then they get bad later on. Whereas Superboy, for a lot of people, season 1 is the weakest. And what I wanted to avoid was doing a podcast where I'm having guests on every week. I'm like, don't worry, it gets better in like 2 years, So what we're doing is we're doing an episode of season 1, and then in the very same episode we're doing the corresponding episode in season 3 to show how different the show was, and to kind of compare and contrast, because like season 3 starts very, very strong and kind of doesn't really let up at all. Like it's a great season of Superman TV. So to kind of contrast the two, it's effectively a different show at that stage. So it's led to some really fun discussions.
Yeah. No, like I said, man, when you told me that, like, I would have been done by now if I had done that. But we're having a great time.
And that's the other thing, is like, we'll have it done in 45 episodes as opposed to 100. So.
Yeah, no, it was a good thought. All right, everybody, check it out. Rob, thank you so much. Audience, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you come back next week. Until then, as always, only Superman can do super things. Support the show and receive exclusive content, including the spin-off podcast Beyond Metropolis, by becoming a member at patreon.com/Anthony Desiato. My sincere thanks to all patrons. Please subscribe, rate, and review today via your platform of choice, and continue the conversation by joining us on social media. Links are in the show notes. Flat Squirrel Podcast is also home to Digging for Kryptonite, a Superman fan journey, a long-running weekly series mining Superman's vast mythology across time and media. Subscribe today.